Someone suggested I post this story from my wedding here, featuring my husband's ex, by user Internet Dramalobster. Important info, we decided to have a micro-wedding, with just our immediate family there, around 10 people. We got married at a venue that is known for holding very large events, but we hired a smaller room there. My husband has a child with his ex, so sees her quite often for things related to my stepkid. We were always planning on inviting her to the wedding to see their kid all dressed up and to generally keep a good co-parenting relationship. Before we had invited her, she informed DH that she'd be there, and asked when and where it was. He was a little taken aback, but as we were planning on inviting her anyway, he just told her. On the day, she showed up to our morning ceremony wearing the shortest dress I've ever seen, over stockings and suspenders. The suspenders could be seen for a good 6 inches before the bottom of the dress, skyscraper heels, nightclub makeup, and costume jewelry. My father actually pulled me aside to ask who hired a stripper. I found out afterwards from mutual friends that she had texted all of them asking when they were getting there. Because she had invited herself, we hadn't thought to let her know it was such a small ceremony, and when they let her know it was family only and the reception was completely separate, she began to panic a little. And I had the best petty revenge. I asked everyone to be extra nice to her. Every time she tried to sneak away, someone would engage her in conversation. She was extremely uncomfortable, and ended up sitting down with her coat covering her. The wedding went off without a hitch. I'm not sure what she expected to happen, but it all worked out fine in the end. My ex kept the power bill in my name for a decade, until today, by user West Cardiologist 30. Join me right now as I await the arrival of my petty revenge. It's my ex's birthday today, and I had always made a very nice V-Day/birthday week extravaganza each year of our 10-year marriage despite his dirtbag ways. Horrible marriage, lots of DV, and when I finally could take our kids and I left almost everything behind, including the house. Had to, or I would have never been free. Well, a few weeks ago when one of my sons visited him for an hour on college break and noticed that my ex had received mail with my name on it. It was his electric bill. Long story short, he was supposed to have updated accounts into his name but did not because that would have cost him money, and I somehow failed to notice. My bad for not knowing, but single motherhood, starting over, and recovering was almost too much at times, and I guess things slipped through the cracks. I since have run my credit report and straightened a few other things out, nothing too horrible. As far as the electric company went, they told me I had 2 options. I could notify him and schedule a termination, which would allow him time to come to the office with a deposit and paperwork to start the account over in his name. Or I could simply terminate the account at any point without notification, and then suggested this I might want to do so this week as it was the best time in the billing cycle to do so. I thought hard about it. He lives alone and doesn't have any pets or people in the house who would be harmed by a night without power. It's a major inconvenience though. He'll be confused when the lights go out, and then when he's told the news he'll be mad, and then he'll have to come up with a deposit tomorrow. So she helped me schedule it for Cobb today with no warning to him. Operation Lights Out asshole should be happening right now. I truly hope he has a lousy birthday today. And a cold shower in the morning. And if there's any deposit returned to me, the electric company says it's mine to keep, but I'll be donating to the Women's Crisis Center a few towns away where I live now. Happily ever after, and with lovely electricity powering this little note of petty revenge. Thanks for sharing it with me. Parking is for customers only, by user Lacif53. Last week I ended up at a pet store I don't normally go to. They didn't carry the cat litter brand I use or have gallons of urine remover, but I picked up a smaller size and a substitute litter to tide me over. I pay, and asked if they have a restroom because my daughter is nagging me to go. The clerk curtly says they do have a restroom, but it's for employees only, and lists off nearby establishments with public restrooms. So I put my stuff in the car and we walked across the street to the Jack in the Box. They wanted me to buy something to use the restroom, so I'm annoyed, but purchased a small drink. We head back to the car and a different employee is outside sweeping. She sees us coming from the Jack in the Box and loudly states our parking is for customers only. I put my daughter in the car, grabbed my litter and urine remover, and walked past her into the store while saying so sorry, I won't do it again. I returned my items while the parking lot girl looked on with a shocked Pikachu face. The manager tried to apologize, and I accepted her apology, saying it's no problem at all. I'm sorry I bothered them. Then I drove to Petco and bought what I actually wanted. Making my blind mother-in-law walk into the road? Well, good luck replacing your wing mirrors, by user SimsyBoy. My mother-in-law is legally blind with less than 10% sight and uses a guide dog. She lives in a street where all homes have a driveway and there is room to park on the road if need be. However, I'll often see someone who's parked on the pavement, sidewalk, with literally less than a foot between the car and the garden wall. If my mother-in-law would go out with the dog and came to this hazard, the dog would have to take her around the car and into the road. The dog is amazing, but it's still not safe for a blind person to have to walk into the road. I contacted the council numerous times but they did nothing, so whenever me, my partner and mother-in-law would go walking, if we encountered these idiot parkers, my partner would escort his mum and dog around the car, whereas I would close my eyes like I was a blind person and squeeze between the car and garden wall, and unfortunately I'd always hit the wing mirror, often knocking it off the car. Depending on the car's age, it would either hang off the car or fall clean to the floor. This issue still happens, but I'm always ready. I hate selfish parkers. A drunk girl called me repeatedly, wrong number, all night, and I start work at 4 am, by user it's Spiaz. This was years ago, but reading another post on this sub triggered the memory. I worked on the grounds crew for a golf course for quite a while, which entails early mornings. I went to bed at about 9 p.m, and got woken up for the first time around 11 p.m. She was already belligerent, asked for Steve. I explained to her I am not Steve, she had the wrong number. Back to sleep. 15 minutes later she called again. Steve? No, you just called, not Steve. Click. This continued for hours. I was using my phone as my morning alarm, so I couldn't turn it off. I was at the mercy of this drunk ditz. I imagine it was about 10 or 15 calls throughout the night. I was so irritated I slept terribly. Fast forward to 3:30 am. I woke up, went to the kitchen to make my coffee, checked call history, and called the most recent number. The mixture of exhaustion and pain in the voice that answered was palpable. Is Jenny there? She told me I had the wrong number and I pleasantly said okay, and hung up. I phoned her back about 15 times during my morning routine and commute to work until she finally exclaimed, "Why are you doing this?" Sounding like she was starting to cry. I forget what I said, but it wasn't important. I got the revenge I wanted and I'll never forget it, haha.